Hey folks, Crimson Blaze here. Welcome to another hammock camping video. In today's video, I have a question for all you hammock campers out there. What do you do with your backpack and all your extra stuff when you sleep at night? I ask because I think this is one of the disadvantages of a hammock compared to a tent. With the tent, you can just throw your backpack in there and spread out all your stuff and not really have any issues or problems at all. And you can't do that with a hammock. And this is a question I didn't really consider when I first started hammock camping, but quickly realized that this was something that I needed to think through based on circumstances that happened on the trail. So I thought I would talk about the different options that I have considered through my years of hammock camping and which one works best for me. Plus, there's a new approach that I'm going to try out in 2025 based on a gift that I got this past Christmas. Now, let me go find a good set of trees and let's get into it. As I started thinking about some of the earlier days of my hammock camping adventures, I thought I would pull out the very first hammock that I bought when I got serious about hammock camping, and that is the Hennessy Hammock Expedition Extra Large. And I love this hammock. It's fantastic, and my son uses it to this day when we go on our hammock camping trips together. But when I first got it started, I didn't really think about where my backpack should go. And you may be thinking, well, duh, Gerald, just put it underneath you, underneath your hammock for easy access. And that's what I did. That's gonna work most of the time. Most of the time you can put your hammock, your backpack underneath you and you're gonna be fine. But as I continued, hammock camping more and more, I realized that there were times where the ground was wet or it was muddy, or like today, there's snow on the ground, and I didn't want to put my backpack on the ground to get muddy or wet or snow all over it. So I wanted to think of an easy solution, a lightweight solution where I could help prevent that. So the first thing I did was I got some Tyveks. And this is, a 3x3 sheet that you can lay on the ground. It is waterproof. And I thought, well, you know what? I will just lay my backpack on top of the Tyveks. And then what I would do, let me get back into my hammock. And then what I would do is, I could put my backpack here on the Tyveks. I would put my shoes as well to get them from getting muddy and wet also. And that worked. The Tyveks is a lightweight solution, and I didn't really have any problems with that at all. Until I started realizing, well, if there's a really bad heavy storm or hail, what I began to notice was that pools of water would form on top of my Tyveks and get my backpack wet. Even with the tarp, pitched down fairly low and tight, you can still have splashback that comes up underneath your hammock. And I was finding that my backpack was getting wet during heavy storms. And I'm the type of guy, I want a solution that's gonna work for all situations. Like I said, you can lay it on the ground for most of the time and that's gonna work. The Tyveks is an easy solution and that's gonna work for most of your backpacking trips. But what could I do in case of heavy storms? What could I do to get my backpack off the ground and prevent it from getting wet? Well, let's look at what I did next. To get my backpack off the ground, the very first thought that I had was, oh, I'll hang it from a tree. A lot of times you'll see these little branches coming off where you can slide the hoop of your the backpack on there pretty easily without any trouble. Or I've seen people take paracord, wrap it around the tree, and kind of create a little hang for their backpack. And that's great, especially if I'm around camp and I'm just messing around and I just want to get it off of the ground and kind of off of mud or, you know, any snow or anything. But when I sleep at night, I wanted to protect it from any rain that might happen. So what I would do is I would put a rain cover on top of it. And this is a Dyneema rain cover. I think it weighs an ounce. So again, lightweight solution. And what I would do is I would just put my rain cover on top of my backpack. So that would protect it from getting wet in case it rained. It's keeping it off the ground. But I quickly realized, as you may have already realized as well, I now don't have easy access to it from my hammock. And that's what I want. In the middle of the night, I don't want to have to unzip my hammock, get out, and come to my backpack and get any stuff that I may need, and then get back into my hammock. That's just a big hassle and pain in the butt. So I quickly realized that this was not going to be an option. So this is what I did next. Instead of hanging it from a tree, let me hang it from my hammock. And what I would do is I would hang it at the head of my hammock. So I have used carabiners, but I prefer the soft shackles because they slide on a little bit easier. And I put it on my head end because, you know, I always kind of want my feet above my head, and my backpack will have a little bit of weight in it, not much, but it'll pull it down a little bit. So I put the backpack at my head, and then, you know, if I'm in my hammock and I can unzip, I can then reach around and get the stuff to my backpack. And that has worked out great, is hanging it off the end of my backpack. One, because I'll have my tarp above me, so it's protected from the weather. It's not going to get wet. And two, it's off the ground, so, you know, it doesn't matter if it's muddy or snowy or whatever, I'm keeping my backpack off of the ground. And it really is a pretty good option. And I did that for the longest time. But then came the Dutch Chameleon, and I think I have found the best way to store all my extra stuff in my hammock. This is the Dutch Chameleon hammock, and this is my go-to hammock when I go hammock camping. And I absolutely love this hammock. It's extremely comfortable, plus it's customizable in that, you know, you can add different accessories to meet the needs of your trip. So for example, I have an underquilt that is zipped on there. So Dutch has worked with Jacks Are Better, and they have designed a quilt that zips on underneath the Dutch Chameleon. So when I get to camp, I don't have to worry about trying to dial in my underquilt. It's already dialed in, it's already good to go, and I absolutely love that. But for the purposes of this video, Dutch sells an accessory which I can zip on to the side of my hammock, and that is this side sling. And basically it is a big pocket on the side of the hammock where I can store extra backpacking gear and have easy access to it. So let me show you how wonderful this is inside of the hammock. Now that I am all cozy and ready to go to sleep in my hammock, let me show you what I love about this side sling. The first is that it's zipped in and I have direct access to my pouch. So I'm not having to zip anything. I'm not having to get out. It is right here for easy access right up by my head. And I'll put anything in here that I want to have easy access to during the night. Primarily like maybe my electronics bag, my charging, my power banks, cords, things of that nature as I'm trying to charge my phone or my Garmin InReach or the video camera that I'm using during the day. I can put all of that stuff in here and have easy access to it. I'll generally put my puffy in here as well so I can get to it easily in the night. And it's just fantastic. And so this has been a wonderful solution for me for where does my extra stuff go. And so I'll just put everything in here that I want to access through the night. And I still put my backpack, I hang it on the end of my hammock. It's just empty now. I don't need to get to it, but I still want to keep it off the ground. So I'll hook it onto the end of my hammock still. But this is what works best for me, is having this pouch and easy access to all my gear without having to get out of my hammock. Another thing you'd want to consider to help organize the stuff in your hammock is a hammock organizer. This is not specifically for Dutch Chameleon. You can get all types of hammock organizers, and they go on your ridgeline where they can slide up and down. And this one I like because it has two pockets, two smaller pockets on one side and then one large pocket on another. And what I typically use mine for is I'll put power banks, some of my cords, my phone. I'll put my headlamp here, anything that I may want to have quick access to during the night. So this has been really helpful in organizing some of the smaller things, I would say, that I want to have easy access to, because they can get lost in the pouch. And so I like having the hammock organizer to put some of those smaller things when I need to get easy access to them. Well, that's the Dutch Chameleon, and that is my preferred approach for how to deal with my backpack and all the extra stuff that I want to have access to during the night when I'm sleeping in my hammock. Again, this pouch is fantastic, and you see I still put my backpack, I hang it on the end of my hammock. Even though it's empty, I still keep it there to keep it off the ground and underneath the tarp so it'll stay dry during the night. But I don't always bring my Dutch Chameleon. And so when I don't bring the Chameleon, my preferred approach for dealing with my backpack is hanging it at the end of my hammock, either with a carabiner or a soft shackle. That way I can, reach around and get the stuff that I need during the night. And for the smaller things, that's what I would put in my hammock organizer. So that's, to me, is a must, is to have a hammock organizer in all of your hammocks for things like your headlamp that you want to get to easily during the night and not have to, dig through your backpack or even dig through my side sling pocket that you want through the night. So that's what I would do if I didn't have my Chameleon. But I did mention at the beginning of this video that I received a gift this Christmas, a piece of gear that may help me with the issue of dealing with my backpack and my gear. So I'm going to go set that up and let's look at that. So the new gear that I'm going to try out for 2025 is a hammock sling. This is the One Wind hammock sling, and it hangs underneath your hammock. So when I'm not bringing my Dutch Chameleon, if I have the Hennessy hammock like this one or my Dutch netless hammock, this could be an option of where I would store my gear. I think I would still put my backpack on the end of my hammock, but then I would put extra stuff that I want to have easy access to in that sling. And it's just like the my side pocket of my Chameleon. It's just not attached to it, but hanging below you. And the thing that I really like about this, it is also a hammock chair. So we'll get to that in a minute and see how well that works. But first, let me climb into this hammock and see how well this works. All right. So far, so good. The sling is still underneath my hammock. I could get to stuff here really easily, which is great. I think I do need to work a little bit on how I want to hang this. I think I can probably come up with a better solution than what is here. But right now that works pretty good. So let me lay down in my hammock. Let's see. Yeah, I think that will, I could see laying in my hammock and unzipping my bug net and grabbing my stuff, grabbing my puffy. You know, got like my ditty bag or electronics bag or whatever. Yeah, I think that's going to work out pretty good. So if I am bringing something like my Dutch netless or Hennessy hammock, I think this would work well. I would still recommend using something like a Hammock Organizer here, where you can put smaller things in it, like your headlamp, phone, power bank, stuff like that. That's going to be really helpful, so you don't have to unzip and zip to get to your hammock sling. But I think that is going to work pretty well, because like I said, I don't always bring my Dutch Chameleon, which is my preferred hammock, but I will bring my Dutch netless. So I think this will work well for that. But now let's see how well this works as a hammock chair. All right, let's give this hammock chair a try. I'm not on the ground, that's a good thing. But yeah, this is pretty comfortable. I could definitely see using this as a hammock chair when you're at the campsite. But I'm not sure if I would use it as a hammock chair. That would mean that during the day, I would set it up as a chair, and then just before I went to bed at night, I would have to change it back into a sling. And I already have a hammock, so why do I need a hammock chair? I would just use my hammock to lounge and sit in, as opposed to having to set up another chair, then break it down, and then set it up as sling. I think I would just set it up as a hammock sling. However, when I go on backpacking trips with my wife, she uses a tent, and she loves sitting and lounging in my hammock. So I could see this as being a lightweight option for her, where she can now have a hammock chair where she can sit and lounge around the campsite and not use mine. But I really am excited about using this piece of gear, this One Wind. It's called One Wind hammock sling, and trying it out. So when I'm not bringing my Dutch Chameleon, I think I am going to bring this out and give it a try and just see how well that I do like it. Well, that's going to do it for this videos. Those are all the different options that I have tried throughout the years, and some have worked better for others, and you'll just need to figure out what works best for you. And maybe you have other ideas that you use around camp for handling your gear. And if you do, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments. I'd love to hear other ways for how you're dealing with your backpack and extra stuff and how you get to it during the night. Because you know me, I'm just always on a mission for constantly trying to improve my hammock camping experience, and I would love to hear your ideas. Thanks for watching.